Once the fire took hold in an alcove, it couldn't be stopped. Once day broke, the losses were in plain sight. Holy scrolls of Torah, a part of a crime scene. And once the news came, it took no time to spread. And as it spread, the speculation began.
And of course, with the rise in anti-Semitic acts around the country over the last few years, everybody's mind immediately went to, was this arson?
Jewish groups acted quickly, saying all eyes were on Duluth because it's a cautious pessimism in modern times, because there are too many acts of anti-Semitism. It took 3 days for the first official answers to come. Friday, Duluth police said they arrested someone. And yesterday,
at this date and time, we can't say that this was motivated by hate.
They have the press conference, they named the suspect, but they say they don't think it is a hate crime. But the part that they left out yesterday was why? What was
Anti-Semitism is defined as hostility to or prejudice against Jewish people. This can be clearly seen in the video we just watched. This incident is not a unique one. Hi, my name is Venclauskas, and I'm here today to inform you about anti-Semitism in the post-Holocaust world. The Holocaust was an event caused by the German idea of racial superiority, which literally means that Germans are superior to every race or nationality. According to Oxford Languages, the Holocaust is defined as the mass extermination of Jews from the years 1941 to 1945, and refers to a systematic cause of over 11 million deaths during this period, 6 million of which were Jews. Well, all of this is over, right? What if I told you that this sort of discrimination towards Jews is still happening today? Anti-Semitism is still a very prevalent problem in modern-day Europe. From 2017 to 2018 alone, the number of anti-Semitic incidents increased by 74%, and the UK has reported the highest number of anti-Semitic acts they've ever recorded. This includes things such as burning down synagogues, physical assault against Jews in public places, death threats, and even attempted murder by arson. In 2018, a 70-year-old Jewish professor found a note attached to her windshield which read, "We are watching you, you Jewish swine." This note terrified the small woman, who remained anonymous out of fear. But more notes would follow. That October, members of a neo-Nazi organization known as the Nordic Resistance Movement broke into her house and set it ablaze, destroying the writings of her mother detailing her time in Auschwitz. Luckily, the professor was not home at the time. But what if she had been? How many close calls do we need before we recognize the problem of racism that is currently happening in countries like Sweden, Germany, and Poland? A major sign of the ever-growing issue of anti-Semitism in Europe is the normalization of anti-Jewish behaviors in certain communities, as well as the pressure to avoid showing anything distinctly Jewish. Many Jews do not wear the Star of David in public to avoid hostility. This speaks to the larger issue of normalization, that Jews feel they cannot publicly practice their religion for fear of persecution. The synagogue of Malmö recently installed bulletproof glass. Imagine having people hate your religion so much that you have to install bulletproof glass just to feel safe while practicing your religion. Normalization of anti-Semitic behavior feeds into desensitization, or the extinguishing of an emotional response. The greater the pressure to avoid seeming distinctly Jewish, the more Jews lose perspective on why it's wrong. The desensitization of Jews to anti-Semitism isn't something that occurred overnight. Even since the Holocaust, anti-Semitism has been creeping its way into normality. The first generation after the Holocaust had heard stories of their parents' horrible mistreatment. The Holocaust seemed so horrible and unthinkable that they didn't even realize what was happening to themselves. Robert Edgenes, director of CRIF, recalls how his daughter forgot that she had been called a dirty Jew on the streets one day. She recalled it later, telling her father as an afterthought. Mr. Edgenes says, "It was not the event of her day. To me, that spoke to the depth of the problem." Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. These words from George Santayana are incredibly relevant in today's society. The world seems to be forgetting the horrific events of the past that don't conform to our modern societal standards. This has happened to the Holocaust. On one end, there are those who claim that the Holocaust is all made up and none of it really happened. On the other end, you have those who want to forget about the Holocaust for fear of saying something that doesn't fit in with society currently. Both of these positions are morally inappropriate, as they are disregarding the struggles of millions of people in an event that should never be forgotten for fear of repetition. According to the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, only 16 states have the Holocaust as a required part of the learning curricula. In 2020, NBC News conducted a nationwide survey showing a worrying lack of basic Holocaust knowledge. Of the 11,000 surveyed, over 40% did not know which war the Holocaust was associated with, and 10% either denied or weren't sure that it ever even happened. Worryingly, 63% of those surveyed did not know 6 million Jews were killed, and more than half of that 63% thought it was under 2 million. This survey heavily suggests that many adults' Holocaust education was incomplete or insufficient. One sign of the more recent rise of anti-Semitism is the development of the internet. It's no secret that you can find anything online with pretty much no effort. This does not exclude the online gathering places of various hate groups. The ease of access to these websites, combined with the general widespread use of the internet, means that virtually anyone can find racist propaganda online. Arguably, the biggest danger of people using the internet to spread anti-Semitism is the ease of access. Anybody could find it, including children. A study conducted in 2018 by multiple universities concluded that children are most susceptible to social pressures from ages 8 to 10 years old. And according to the US Department of Education, even 20 years ago, in 2001, at least 75% of 5-year-olds were already using computers and the internet, and the percentage only increases with age. There's an obvious problem here when you add in the fact that anti-Semitism online rose by 300% from 2017 to 2019. Parents of young children should be especially careful about what they let their children see online, especially when it comes to the online gathering places of various hate organizations. When Jesus tells the parable of the Good Samaritan, he is calling us to be like the Samaritan. The reason this parable is so significant is because Samaritans and Jews were practically enemies. They hated each other. Yet the Samaritans showed the Jew kindness. We also see Jesus show love to the Canaanite woman at the well. The Holy Spirit allowed the disciples to speak in tongues during the Pentecost as well, so they could reach everyone, not just a certain group of people. The idea of showing any race hatred is completely against what Jesus teaches us. The controversial issue is God's order to the Israelites to destroy the Canaanites. This can be seen as God endorsing genocide, but this is not the case. According to Paul Copan, author of Is God a Moral Monster?, Joshua used the rhetorical bravado of his day, asserting that all the land was captured, all the kings defeated, and all the Canaanites destroyed. What this means is that Joshua was essentially trash-talking the Canaanites. Similar language has been used throughout history, despite not being literal. For example, Pharaoh Merneptah once wrote, "Israel is laid waste, and his seed is not," despite Israel never having been destroyed by the Egyptians. The conquest of the Canaanites is incomparable to the mass extermination of Jews. The Canaanites were a people with many evil practices. The Canaanites, as a culture, were idol worshippers and child sacrificers, and practiced sexual immorality frequently, but that doesn't mean they all deserve death. After all, you can't always blame the whole group for the actions of some, but the same can be said of Nazi Germany. Clearly, German children weren't responsible for the killing of 6 million Jews. When the Allies invaded Germany, it was to destroy the Nazi Party, not to kill every German. The same can be said of the Israelites. They were on a mission to end the evil of the Canaanites, but they did not have to kill every Canaanite to achieve that. Anti-Semitism never disappeared, as has been demonstrated today. In this world of conflict, it's as important as ever to show kindness to everybody, no matter race, religion, sex, and we must all strive to be good Samaritans in Jesus' eyes. Thank you.